In Fox 5 Health News tonight, scientists say they have found new clues that could help battle depression. They have now identified 15 locations on our DNA that are associated with the disorder, including ones that can relate to fear and anxiety. The huge study examined data provided by the genetic testing company called 23andMe. Experts say this new information could be used to develop better medications and also to help identify at-risk people.
And more cases of Lyme disease being reported on Staten Island. In fact, the New York City Health Department says that this is due because of the large deer population in the borough, which we've been talking about all winter long. It's really been exploding for the last few years. Joining us now is Fox 5 medical contributor Dr. Devi. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, this is bad, tough news for Staten Island folks.
Sure. I mean, they saw the number of cases rising over the past couple of years, and at first it was hard to tell, why are the numbers going up? Are people traveling more and getting infected somewhere else? But finally they figured out, just based on, sampling ticks in the parks and the deer, they figured out that the deer population might be responsible.
Yeah.
So in terms of what they're going to try to do, I mean, there are some studies that looked at even actually performing vasectomies for some of these deer to control the deer population as one method. I mean, but the most important thing is for people to try to protect themselves as much as possible, right? So if you're going out into any wooded areas, try to wear bright colors, white if possible, so you can at least see the ticks. Try to cover up, although in this heat it is very difficult. And I would say, if you can use insect repellent, use that. If you can take a shower as soon as you come back in, do that, because you might be able to wash away ticks, wash your clothes, heat them on high heat when you dry them.
Right.
Yes, exactly. But then the other things to think about are if you do have symptoms, and even if it's a vague symptom, because most of the symptoms are vague initially, whether it's fevers, chills, headaches, or this general malaise. Sometimes people feel like a muscle pain or joint pain. So general viral symptoms, that could be a sign of Lyme disease if you've been out there in a wooded area over the weekend or something else. So have a low threshold to go in and get checked out. I mean, in the worst case scenario, you've spent some time seeing your doctor, right? Or maybe you've started antibiotics that you might not have needed, which is a problem in general, but it's still safer than potentially leaving Lyme disease untreated.
Good advice, and something else we wanted to talk about with you today, Dr. Devi. Eating plant-based proteins like nuts and lentils could actually help you live longer. There's this huge new study out that finds this type of diet can be beneficial even if you have an unhealthy lifestyle. So even if you're a meat eater, these plant-based foods are still good to incorporate into your diet, right?
Exactly. And this study was a huge study. So they put together data from 170,000 people that they watched over 30 years. So we've seen a lot of studies that say that plant-based proteins or eating vegetables are good. But this is much larger in terms of its scope. And what's even more interesting actually was the other way around. They found that even if you were a meat eater, that you actually could negate your risk or basically fight against that if you had a healthy lifestyle. So if you were not a smoker, if you didn't drink heavily, if you controlled your weight so you're not overweight or underweight, if you controlled those health factors and lifestyle factors, then actually you could eat red meat and other animal proteins, whether it's high-fat dairy or eggs, and still have a relatively good risk compared to other people. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I mean, they found some other things too. So they found that generally unprocessed meats are better than processed meats, which is not a surprise really. But they also found that if you're going to eat meat, you are better off with fish and chicken than you are with red meat.
So a lot of people wonder and worry about whether or not plant-based proteins are as effective a protein source as meat proteins.
Well, they seem to be effective as a source, right? But you have to have enough of them.
Right.
So what happens with a lot of people...
That's probably what it is.
Exactly. So with a lot of people, they might have some beans or something here and there if they're vegetarians, but they might not be as consistent about measuring how much protein they're getting in. And if you have any questions about it, sometimes you can look at the vitamins like B12, get these levels checked, or maybe take supplements if you need to. But this is sort of beyond even the benefit of the supplements. This is that those plant-based proteins are actually keeping you alive for longer.
Well, that sounds like a nice nice thing to follow. Thank you very much.
Just incorporate more plant-based foods. Don't cut out meat completely. Thanks, Devi.
Thanks.
Oh, boy.